Of all the places to hunt for PlayStation 1 Platinum games, games conventions must be my favourite. And today we are at OLL 23 as part of the PlayStation Platinum project. Let the games begin. Again, folks, so welcome back to the PlayStation Platinum project, my continuing mission to try and add all 160 PlayStation 1 Platinum games released here in the PAL region. And we are slowly nearing the midway point. We are 73 games down, which means we have 87 left to go. And one of the best places to find these Platinum games is at a games convention. And today we are going to one of my favourite game conventions right here in my home city of Norwich, OLL 23. Hoping to add loads of Platinum games to the collection. Just before we head to OLL 23, I just want to remind you folks, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe, and if you're feeling really generous, please share this video to your socials, as this series really needs your help. You have the power to make this popular and the power to get me over that finish line and find all 160 Platinum games. Now, let's head to OLL 23. Here we are then for the final time at OLL 23. It was an incredible weekend. Just look at the smile on my face. And this time we are looking for PlayStation 1 Platinum games for the PlayStation Platinum project. Straight away at last level game stand, there was a good selection of Black Label and Platinum games for the PS1, and even better, most of these because Tekken's random there, were in alphabetical order, which just makes my life a lot easier, especially when I'm going through my list looking for games that are missing, such as Tony Hawk's Skateboarding, one of the greatest PlayStation 1 games of all time, and one I do need for the Platinum project. Another game here, Tomorrow Never Dies. I'm not going to say this is one of the greatest games ever, not even one of the greatest Bond games ever, but it is a game on the list and a game that I'm sorely missing at the moment. And a game I've been looking for quite a long while, Destruction Derby Raw. Everyone always remembers the original Destruction Derby and even Destruction Derby 2, but everyone forgets about Destruction Derby Raw, which, if you're a metalhead like me, has an absolutely fantastic soundtrack. They also had possibly my favourite game of all time, Resident Evil 2, as well as the game that came before it, of course, the original Resident Evil. Two big heavy hitters I need for the PlayStation Platinum project, and two of the slightly more expensive games. Remember, with the Platinum project, a lot of these games aren't too expensive. Like both of these games here are £8 each. This is one of the advantages of the PlayStation Platinum project. You can pick up a lot of these games very cheap, but it does bring up some very difficult decisions to make. So here we have a little bit of a Danception. Here is my wife filming me, filming my games. I'm deciding to pick up which ones. Thankfully, I did realise before I paid for it that I did already have the original Tony Hawk's game in the collection already. Unfortunately, this time I did pass up on Resident Evil and Resident Evil 2. They're not the most uncommon games, but they are two of the ones that are slightly more expensive and ones I'm hoping to find in CX, because, spoiler alert, later in this video we will be going to CX and I have got a voucher to spend, which is always an absolute bonus. There is nothing better than going into CX and spending a voucher rather than reaching into your wallet, but OLL is far from over yet. On to the next stand, and how cool is this? A sealed, and yes, that is a legit sealed copy of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Now, this is a bit of a rabbit hole I do not want to go down, trying to find sealed PlayStation 1 games. Yes, I know a lot of people do collect sealed games, that is your prerogative, but I'm here to pick up games to play. This one was only 20 quid, so it was very tempting. You can see I'm thinking about it, but at the end of the day, I do need this one for the collection, but if I'm going to buy it, I'm going to buy an unsealed copy so I can play it and leave this one so we collect sealed. The next stall, and probably for the first time ever, I'm probably the first person ever to complain they do not have enough Platinum games. They had Final Fantasy VII, yes, one of the greatest RPGs of all time, but unfortunately I do already have this one in the collection. This is the thing, like back in the day when I was looking for PlayStation 1 games, I would always only find Platinum games. I'd never find anything Black Label, and now of course because I'm looking for Platinum games, all I find is Black Label games, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because at the end of the day, if I still see some Black Label games I need, I will pick them up. And I was very tempted to pick up some of these PlayStation PlayStation 1 demo discs, but for the life of me, I can never remember which ones I have. I've been picking up the magazines recently. It's super cool to be able to pick up both the demo disc and a magazine together to make the full package.
And damn stage part of your disc.
That's the other one I need, unfortunately. This next stall holder was super friendly. He basically asked if I was looking for anything in particular. I said I was looking for Platinum games. They unfortunately didn't have any I needed, except for Mortal Kombat Trilogy, which the cover was a reprint. And at the end of the day, each to their own again, but I'm going to be looking for the original packaging and kind of labelling for these games, which was that one stung a little bit. I've been trying to get that Mortal Kombat Trilogy for a long while. It's one I definitely wanted for the collection. I don't have any Mortal Kombat games at all for the PlayStation 1, so I was really gutted I couldn't add that one today. Now back to the games room. Here we are back in the games room then from OLL 23, and it was an absolutely amazing weekend. If you haven't watched my previous episodes of my OLL special, I've linked them all into a playlist so you can really experience what is one of the best games conventions in the entire UK. Now, I was really hoping to get some serious numbers in the PlayStation Platinum project this time. Unfortunately, we did not get anywhere near as many games as I would have hoped, but quality over quantity, we do have 2 new titles for the project. First up, we have a James Bond game, and at the same time when people were playing GoldenEye N64, unfortunately if you had a PlayStation 1, you had to settle for Tomorrow Never Dies. On the back, it is called the most complete Bond experience, and you know what? I would probably argue that point. This is really not the greatest Bond game of all time. It is one of the more kind of cheap movie tie-in games. And to be fair, it's a bit of a cheap Platinum game as well. £8 complete from last level games. Happy to add this one to the PlayStation Platinum project. I was super excited to find this game, as I would say this is an underrated hidden gem. A lot of people talk about the original Destruction Derby, a lot of people talk about Destruction Derby 2, but not enough people talk about Destruction Derby Raw. I think this is a really, really good racing game on the PlayStation 1. Yes, it is one of the later racing games on the PlayStation 1, but this is a game I don't think enough people talk about. That's why we're going to jump straight into this game right now. We're going to play Destruction Derby Raw.
Can anyone stop the mechanical mayhem?
One of the most important things about the PlayStation Platinum project is going back and reliving these games or playing them for the very first time, or in the case of Destruction Derby Raw, going back and discovering some of these hidden gems, games I don't think enough people kind of experience. And this is definitely a hidden gem. I'm going to get very quickly into a race here so you can see exactly what I mean. So many people talk about the original Destruction Derby and Destruction Derby 2, but so many people seem to gloss over the third and final game for this series on the PlayStation 1, Destruction Derby Raw. And trust me, this is a game you don't want to miss out on. Here we go then. Half the battle of these games is normally remembering how to actually control them, and I kind of did forget how incredibly dark this game is. Like, ridiculously dark. I can actually barely see where I'm going. Obviously, I'm playing this in the way it should be played on a good old CRT Sony Trinitron TV. And yeah, normally the darkness isn't that bad, but this game is really dark. But I think that's one of the things of this, because it's raw, it's probably at night. It's got quite a heavy metal soundtrack. It's just a great Destruction Derby game, even if it is incredibly hard to see where you're actually going. Of course, when you're playing a Destruction Derby game, one of the main things to consider is your car is very, very much destructible. And one of the main things about this game is just smashing the competition into absolute pieces. This is one of the first games I think that had really good damage physics on cars, and this game is like no other. In a way, you can absolutely destroy literally the competition. As well as going back and playing some of the best games the PlayStation 1 had to offer, one of the other most important things about the PlayStation Platinum project is shining a spotlight on some of the best independent game stores in the UK, because trust me people, use them or lose them. Now more than ever, these small independent stores need your support, and that's what I'm going to be doing now, heading to 2 absolutely amazing stores in my local area on the hunt for more PlayStation Platinum project games. This first independent game shop isn't exactly a game shop, it is a market stall. It is Get the Game on Peterborough Market. And don't be fooled, from the outside, this place is absolutely stocked with games for every platform. From retro to modern, there is a little bit of everything. But of course, this is the PlayStation Platinum project, and today we are looking for Platinum PlayStation 1 games. And by the looks of it, we were in the right place. This is what I love about independent game shops. You never know what to expect and can't judge them from the outside. Let's jump straight into these PlayStation 1 games then. And as you can see, there is a fairly sizable selection of games here, with some Platinum games mixed amongst the Black Label games. Pulling out some of the low-end titles first, like PGA Tour. Sadly, we have that one. And we are looking for games we don't have for the collection already, such as... No, I think we already have this one. Unfortunately, we're going to keep looking. It's crazy now seeing some of these old stickers from back in the day. Free for £10. If only we knew then what we knew now. Micro Machines free. Sadly, already have this one as well for the collection. It's surprising we're not even halfway through the PlayStation Platinum project of those 160 games, and it's already getting harder to find games that we're missing on the list, and also to find them in complete and good condition. But remember, some of these games are like over 20 years old. It's not surprising they might have some damage or manuals missing. This right here is a heavy hitter, Toy Story 2, but this one did look a little bit rough and I don't think it had the manual. Definitely one of the more expensive games randomly, about a 20 quid game, which no, isn't exactly breaking the bank, but don't forget there's a lot of games in the PlayStation Platinum project. Some of the low-level games are harder to get. I have got V-Rally already. I haven't got Project Titan, the other Time Crisis game. Unfortunately, that didn't have a manual. And Tomb Raider, I would have picked this up, but this copy, it doesn't come across too well in the film, but the cover was a little bit rough. There was a really good selection in this store, but sadly, nothing we needed for the PlayStation Platinum project. As I said, as we get further and further into this project, it's going to be harder to find games, but for now, on to the next game store. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more luck there. Our next stop this time is the Game Cave, a small independent shop in the Norfolk town of Dereham, and we are looking for PlayStation Platinum games, of course, and they had a really good selection here, both of Platinum games and of Black Label games. The first one that caught my eye was Ape Escape. Now, unfortunately, that one didn't have the manual, and unfortunately, that is a little bit of a running theme here. A lot of these games were missing the manual. Nothing against the shop. I guess if they just took a massive trade-in, probably a lot of these games just came incomplete. But I am looking for the complete games. But there were some really good ones here. Both some of the cheap titles and some of the more expensive titles. And some really good titles like throughout. And some more obscure titles as well. Just a really good selection of what makes the PlayStation 1 fantastic. And what I love about these small independent game shops. You literally never know what you're going to find hiding in these stores. Now, I may not have found any Platinum games in my collection, but check this out. A brand new analog controller for the PlayStation 1. A brand new controller for a console which is over 20 years old is absolutely crazy. And for $19.99, I know it's not really what we're fully looking for, but this is definitely coming home with me. Here we are then, back in the games. We may not have found any PlayStation 1 Platinum games I needed for the collection, but if you're in the area of either the Game Cave in Dereham or get the game in Peterborough, please go visit, as you never know what you're going to find for your collection. As I found this item in the Game Cave in Dereham, this brand new PlayStation 1 analog controller. This is a thing of absolute beauty. You see so many bootleg versions of this, and this is legit. This is the real thing, and this is a thing of absolute beauty. And while not the exact thing I went in there looking for, if I can find brand new stock of PlayStation 1 controllers, memory cards, peripherals, anything, I'm going to grab them. I may have passed on that brand new and sealed copy of Tony Hawk's Free earlier in this video, but a brand new controller for 20 quid in 2023? No brainer. As well as visiting independent game stores, one of my favourite ways to add games to the PlayStation Platinum project is trading with you folks, the viewers. So if you have any unloved PlayStation Platinum games, please reach out and hopefully we can make a trade like I did with one of the viewers called Levi, who sent this game in the classic CX box. And this was a game we traded that I needed for the PlayStation Platinum project. And I love the reuse of this CX packaging. I love the recycling. Is this game Disney's Hercules, and this is in absolutely fantastic condition for a game that's probably like 20 years old. This is a game I've never played before as well, and that's the thing about the PlayStation Platinum project. I didn't even know there was a Hercules game on the PlayStation 1, let alone it also had a Platinum release, which, lest we forget, means this game must have originally sold over 400,000 copies. Now, I know a lot of these early Disney games were really good. Like, I used to love the Disney games on the Master System and the Mega Drive. I haven't tried this one out yet, but I'm definitely going to jump into this one soon. But let me know if you ever played Disney's Hercules back on the PS1. Here's another trade for the PlayStation 1 Platinum Project, which was sent to me by a viewer called Paul. It is Stuart Little 2 on the PlayStation 1. Now, I've never even seen a Stuart Little movie, let alone played the game. Yes, this one is missing the front cover, but with some of these lesser games, it is complete other than that. So maybe if I find a copy which is missing the instruction manual or has a scratched disc, then this would be a good way to complete it. But let me know, am I missing out having never played a Stuart Little game and never seen a Stuart Little movie? Again, thanks Paul for this one. And with the PlayStation Platinum Project, I really want to use eBay as a last resort. But when I'm just scouting around in there and I can get a boxed, complete PlayStation Platinum game we need for the collection for under £5 with this game, Soviet Strike, yes, I'm probably going to pick it up. I really enjoy like Jungle Strike, Desert Strike, even Urban Strike on the Mega Drive. I'm not as into these games on the PlayStation 1, but still, I know it's not the best thing to do just to jump on eBay and buy these games, but if I can get them under £5, it's another one crossed off the list. One of the best ways to build any video game collection, be it for the PS1 or any other console, is by finding stuff cheap and trading it into CX. The idea is you go to charity shops, car boots, anything you can pick up something at a low price to trade into CX for a high price. And that's what I've done recently. Going to car boots and charity shops, I've managed to build up a nice little voucher to put towards the PlayStation Platinum Project. So we're going to head to a CX store and hopefully pick up an amazing game or two off our PlayStation Platinum list. But here is the issue. I only want to spend the voucher amount we have this time in CX, and this could lead to some difficult decisions. Our final stop this time is at CX in the small town of Huntington, and when I checked the stock online for the CX, they had some amazing retro and some real heavy hitters that I needed for the PlayStation Platinum Project. There'll be a full tour of this store coming up in this Crazy World of CX episode, but check this out. So like I said, I had a voucher to spend in CX today, and I was not going to spend a penny more than that voucher, but this meant there was going to be some tough decisions, as there was some incredible retro in here. You can see at the side there that copy of Tekken 3. That game has evaded me for so long, there is no way I'm leaving Tekken 3 behind. But that means we have a decision to make. Will I pick up Resident Evil or Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation Platinum Project? Like Highlander, there can be only one. This voucher means I can only afford one of these games, but which one would you buy? You're going to find out very soon which one of these two absolutely iconic games I picked up for the PlayStation Platinum Project, as well as finally finding a copy of Tekken 3. Final time, back to the games room. Here we are then, back in the games room for the final time. I have spent my CX voucher and I have managed to get a game which has eluded me for the longest time. Even though it was the best selling fighting game on the PlayStation 1. Last year, this game was on my 20 in 2022 games challenge, the 20 most wanted games I wanted for my collection. I did manage to find a black label copy of this game last year, but this year I have managed to find a platinum copy of Tekken 3. And what an absolutely incredible example of this game this is. This is in absolutely fantastic condition. Of course, it is fully complete. The manual is huge with this game, and this is a really good one to tick off the PlayStation Platinum Project. Like I said, I had a voucher to use in CX and it led to some difficult decisions. I had to decide between two of the most iconic games on the PlayStation 1, Resident Evil and Metal Gear Solid. And as I said, like Highlander, there could be only one, and this time I picked up Metal Gear Solid. Perhaps the most iconic game on the PlayStation 1. Perhaps one of the most iconic video games of all time. And again, this is in absolutely fantastic condition. It has the manuals, it has both discs, they are both the platinum versions. And I had to make a decision. At the end of the day, I see Resident Evil fairly often. I do not see Metal Gear Solid that often, especially in this good a condition, because it's one of these multiple disc cases. These get damaged a lot easier, but trust me, This is a fantastic one to knock off our list for the PlayStation Platinum project. Let's get these games crossed off and shelved up. This is what it's all about, making progress through this list of 160 games and crossing off 2 heavy hitters off this list with both Metal Gear Solid and Tekken 3. Metal Gear Solid is one of the biggest video games on the PlayStation 1. It's actually one of the slightly heavier hitters, weighing in at nearly £30 for the Platinum project. And Tekken 3 has just been one which has eluded me for so long, but I have a problem with this recent CX pickup. Buying games from CX is very much like playing the stock market. Prices rise and yes, prices fall. And the price fell not just for Tekken 3, which went down by £3 for the Platinum version, but also the Platinum version of Metal Gear Solid dropped by £3 just after I bought both of these games, which is kind of annoying. But strangely, the Black Label versions of these games have gone the opposite way. Tekken has gone up by £5 and Metal Gear has gone up by £3. It just goes to show you have to keep an eye on these prices on CX because they are changing all the time. But I actually think it's interesting that these Platinum games are getting cheaper, which will hopefully benefit me in the long run. But unfortunately for all you Black Label collectors, it looks like the PS1 Black Label games are on the rise. We're nearly at the end of this episode of the PlayStation Platinum project, but we are ending this episode on a massive milestone. At the end of the last episode, we had 73 games in the PlayStation Platinum Project collection. There is 160 games. This time we added 7 games, which means, yes, we are halfway to our goal. 80 games collected, 80 games to go. It is a massive milestone. It gives me huge hope that we're going to be able to complete this 160 game collection. There we are then, folks. We are ending this episode on a high. Halfway to our goal for the PlayStation Platinum project. But as we go over that halfway point, it's only going to get harder. And I'm going to need your support to make this project a reality. If you have any unloved PlayStation 1 Platinum games, please get in touch. As we get to these final 80 games, it's only going to get harder. So, let the games begin. See you soon.